Hello, my name is Thomas Myrick, and this is a pitch for Kinship Path, a dungeon crawler style RPG. Kinship Path is meant to be a portable game that is accessible to people who may be unfamiliar to RPGs. It is largely character-driven with simplified real-time combat. Its setting is futuristic, dominated by hostile cyborgs that are quelled by a paramilitary force, of which the player is part of. Although the setting is somewhat of a dystopia, the theme is meant to be more lighthearted and colorful. Kinship points are awarded to players after combat to allocate to active party members. The player can redistribute these points through a character's skill tree before combat. However, the aggregate amount of kinship points in a party is what determines a skill's effectiveness. This is to incentivize players to develop underused characters. Starting the game, players will be bounced to a lobby area and greeted by a welcome bot. From here, the player may navigate via menus to a map screen, party roster, or other key areas. This will also be the main area the player saves and gets secondary information. The map screen will be the player's primary means of interaction after the lobby. This consists of an isometric background image populated by objects, NPCs, and path nodes. The player doesn't navigate this area with a 3D avatar, but with an on-screen cursor which scrolls the image. Simple animations and notifications will be used, but otherwise the screen is static. This is a typical form of navigation for portable style games. Eventually the player will need to build a party and combat enemies. Before embarking, they first select a mission. Mission types will vary from rescue missions to simply eliminating the enemy. Some may impose restrictions and requirements that inform the party selection, so players need this information beforehand. While choosing which characters to add, a player will be briefed on essential stats and active skills. From here, the player can choose to add a character to the party or configure their skills. It is important that the players know they need to select the party of characters before configuring the skills, as the aggregate amount of kinship points within the party determines how many points each character can allocate to their skill tree. Skill trees will be simple in design and nothing out of the ordinary as far as skill trees go. Each skill has various levels that increase a skill's effectiveness. Some levels will act as thresholds that unlock subsequent skills. This way, advanced skills are gated until the player can increase the party's total kinship points. As the player makes their way through the mission area and approach enemies, they will lock on before attacking. Strafing and four-directional dashing will be common to all characters. The active party is controlled by AI except for the player's active member. This allows the player to switch between characters without having to manage other characters. The player will not be able to jump. This will eliminate testing bugs and reduce animation assets needed. The types of weapons will depend on the character, but the two main types will be projectile and melee weapons. Projectile and melee weapons are the two distinct types of weapons, but characters cannot change their weapon, as it's what gives the character their combat distinction. Combat items like weapons can only be upgraded through skills. In a technical sense, Kinship Path is inspired by other portable games like Persona 3 Portable and Phantasy Star Portable. These two titles exemplify the approach to portable style game. The theme and combat are most similar to Phantasy Star, while the kinship mechanic was inspired by Persona's social link mechanic. While there are some main elements that need to be made before the game is considered playable, they can also be compartmentalized for development. Combat missions will need the most attention. The enemy assortment and character roster are also areas that need some development time, but there are ways to reduce efforts. Unit test will use simple block people for characters. A handful of enemies will be made using polymorphic techniques to extend their variability. Skill balancing is also a key point to making a fun experience for the player, which could take some time, but it is not essential to a production prototype. A reasonable approximation to this balance is useful for unit tests. Thank you for your attention. Hello, my name